write science fiction, fantasy, and horror, and also chickens. So that is my thing. I'm a chicken lady. You guys are cat people. I don't have my chickens on my lap with me because they get loud. But so I started doing book events about 10 years ago. A lot of people find success with doing online marketing, and that's great for them. I have not found that magic pill for me so much yet, but I really enjoy getting out and meeting the readers and making like a personal connection by doing in-person book events, as opposed to always focusing on my marketing online. So I do a lot of online or a lot of in-person events. I this year have done 30. Typically I do 25 to 30 every year. And I keep increasing that, and I've kind of maxed out at 30. That's all my physically, mentally can do per year. At this point in the year, I am pretty burnt out on it, but I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun to actually make those in-person connections as opposed to just selling online and never really actually meeting your readers. I find that the readers that I do meet in person are much more interactive on my social media, and they do follow me from events to event. So it helps the event people as well, where I can bring a crowd with me as opposed to I'm somebody that no one knows. So it's kind of fun that way too, and that has helped me become a guest at certain events where I actually get paid to be there also, which is kind of fun. So my story began about 10 years ago. I was actually published with Jason as a small press, and I started going out and doing a book events, and that was my introduction to this scary world of actually meeting readers in person and having them go, "So what do you write?" And sitting there staring at them, going, "Um, book, buy it." And I've grown from there to doing a lot of panels and being out at all these 30 events every year. So I actually had my fun story is I do bring a chicken to most of my book events. And that is how most people know me, as the chicken lady now, which I've just embraced at this point. And I also write children's books now about said chickens. And then that is not my main focus because I write science fiction, fantasy, and horror for adults and young adults, but also chickens. And that's what gets people over to the table. It's having that wonderful little thing that attracts their attention. It happens to be a live chicken. Not everybody has a live chicken. Please don't, because that's my thing. But having something is great. So I have this little presentation about an event based on event I did over this past summer, where I was at a table across from another person who had a table, and they were selling very similar things to what I was selling. They had books they had written, they had various other little merchandise that they had similar to what I have, things that we have made, artistic things. And the thing was, over the weekend, having talked to this person, they made a microscopic amount compared to what I had made. So for all intents of easy math purposes, say I made $1,000, they made 10 in 10 days, or in the 3 days we were there. And then so I sat down and I'm like, why is that? Because I do so many events that I go around and I talk to other authors that are there and find out how they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing, and try to give them some advice. And sometimes I take advice from them because we all don't know everything. And so that's where we're going from today. So my main thing is I have something interesting on my table, which makes people stop. The other people across from me had their art, which is great, but no one was stopping at their table. And as I sat there and watched them, because I had a crowd of people around my table playing with the chicken, which was fine, and I'm watching their table and no one's even stopping. And I'm like, they have cool stuff. I'm like, why is no one even going over there? It's not like my chicken's taking everybody away. They're on the other side of the aisle. They had plenty of traffic of their own. And there's a lot of reasons why, which we will get into. So you may think having a chicken on my table that everyone's going to stop. And it amazes me how many people do not even stop to notice there is a live chicken on the table. They just are walking by. They're just oblivious because there's so much going on at these events that you have to have something that gets their attention. And sometimes it's thankfully a friend who happens to be just staring at my table and says, "Oh my gosh, there's a live chicken on the table." And it gets a whole bunch of people to stop, which yay. But only 80% of them are just there to see the chicken. They're not going to buy anything, but it gets them to stop at the table. And that is the thing I need most. Please slow down and look at the things on my table. So anything that you can have on your table to make people stop and actually just look at you. So you have a moment to make eye contact and start your pitch, or for them to see your books and go, oh, books, I like books. Because people are just so overwhelmed by everything visually at these events. I mean, art festivals, Comic Cons, Renaissance fairs. I do all of those things, and there's so much going on. Everybody's got all kinds of stuff on their tables trying to grab people's attention. And it just gets overwhelming for people. Or they're just on their phone and they're not paying any attention at all to begin with. Um, so things to get people to stop at your table. Obviously, we don't all have chickens. I've had an author friend of mine has a little alien that sits on her table, and it gets a lot of, she writes science fiction. So she gets a lot of people to stop and go, oh, what a cute alien. And it maybe they don't relate to her books at all, but they stop. And that's what we need. Another author friend of mine hands out little business cards where he has random things on his business card. So he has started with a very short story that was like a 3-sentence micro story on his business card. Was like, oh, would you like a free short story? Currently has werewolf haiku. So all he has to do is stop and go, oh, werewolf haiku? And people go, I'm sorry, what? And it gets them to stop, which is great. Anything like that. You wear a weird hat, a tie, some interesting clothing, have some little thing on your table that relates to your books in any way, something flashy but not obnoxious because you don't want to annoy your neighbors. Anything that gets people to stop and just have a conversation. So you can say, also books, because that's how they are going to actually stop and buy books. Let's see here. Talking to people. I don't know how many authors I see at events that are sitting there reading a book or behind a laptop and not engaging with people. I don't enjoy engaging with people on a day-to-day basis, but when I'm out doing the author thing, I have to put on my author hat and be a social person. And it's not my favorite thing, but that's you just become that person and you do the thing and you go out and you sell your books, become a salesperson for 8 hours, and then take off that hat and then go sit in the dark and, and read your book. um, but there are so many people who just sit there and they look grumpy and they don't want to talk to people. I'm like, just say hi, or comment on their clothes, comment on, oh, I see you bought what is that? And you bought something interesting, or oh, you bought that pie from over at that place. What is it? How is it? Or what flavor did you get? Anything to make people stop and slow down and start a conversation. A lot of times at Comic Cons, I can pick up my audience because they're wearing a sci-fi shirt or anything related to Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that, where I go, oh, you like this. Oh, maybe you would also like this book. Anything, they wear a weird hat, anything, earrings, you're wearing a cool necklace. I see you bought the necklace from the place down the aisle. I stopped there. Oh, they were so cool. It start the conversations. It's not that hard, but people, you got to make the effort to do that so that they slap down and look at your books. The other main thing they had, and I felt so bad. So these people had this beautiful display of all their books. They had beautiful signage. Signage is another thing a lot of people neglect. People don't want to stop and ask how much something is. They want it right there. They don't want to have to interact with you if they don't have to, because a lot of these people are shy, or they're with other people. They're on their phone. They're distracted. They don't want to interrupt you, and they don't want to start the conversation unless you start it. So having prices, having a description. So in the top of all of my books, on my book racks, I have a price. I have a mini blurb, just a 1 or 2 sentence, like, hey, this is my little pitch about this book. I have some keywords like you'd use on Amazon, like here's things you might find in this book. So if there's trigger warning things, if this one has dragons and things like that, to like get people's attention. And it really helps a lot because they can stop, they can see what the book is about before they have to ask me about it, before they have to ask any questions. So there's no awful surprises of them picking up a book and going, oh, I really like this. How much is it? And then I give them a price and they're like, oh, and they put it back down, because that's awkward for everyone. Not that my books are super expensive, but I have seen that with other authors where they're charging $24 for a paperback book that should be like 12. But their prices are, depending on who they're published with, not under their control. So having that mark is very helpful for everyone. Having those keywords has really helped a lot. People love that because that's the new marketing thing apparently right now. You have your little keywords, your little your tropes, all those things, having that posted out there for them to see. They're very used to that right now, so that's great. people they judge the book by the cover. So having a decent cover definitely helps. Having your all your information just out there so they don't have to ask. And if they do actually look at it, then you can do your pitch and you don't feel like you're scaring them off. And that's very helpful. Having a book rack where your book cover is not all the way hidden. I know a lot of those wire racks you can buy on Amazon, you only see the top third of your book when you have a whole stack of them up like this. That is not very helpful. I worked with one of those for a little while. I started with wooden crates because I could just put the books up against wooden crate. I didn't like the little easels like you can get at the craft store where you just have one book sitting in an easel, because a lot of people put the books back down and the easel would tip over or the book would fall out or it's windy and everything falls over. I do a lot of outdoor events. So having that crate gave me something to just from like the Michaels or any craft store, gave me something to put books up against, and I could kind of build a display. I could do some stuff on top of that if I wanted to have my special thing to sit up there. I have a stuffed dragon that I would sometimes set up on top there that would get people's attention, which was great. Having my price tags up against it, all those things, so things don't blow over. Eventually, I had too many books and I couldn't use the book crates anymore. So then I moved up to the wire rack, and I had just one tall, I don't remember how many, it was like a 16 book wire rack. It was giant. And that was great, except I had to like stagger the books in it so that they weren't covered over each other, because I have a lot of books. I had currently at that time, I think I had maybe 10 to 12 books out. And it was hard to vary them side, one here and two here and whatever up all the way up the rack so that people could see the full cover, because they want to see the cover. They want to see what the book's about. You worked a lot on that cover, or you paid a lot for the cover art. You want to show it off. So that was my rack. And then I grew out of the rack. And so now I designed a rack because I'm like, I need a rack for me. So I built a rack, designed a rack. And now we sell them. They're on my website. And they are a completely breaks down flat. So I can store it in my gearbox where I can take it with me and set it all up. It's not awkward in my car. It only hides 1.5 inches at the bottom of each book. So typically that's my name. They know who I am. I'm there with a big banner. It's my face. I'm here. So the name is not that important on the top on the book. It's the book cover and the title and that kind of stuff that they need to see. And that has been great. I get a lot of people love the racks because I have them. I have my sticker on the top of each book, so the books are in the same place every time. Also, because that gets confusing when you set up your display and you've moved books around from one show to the next, and you're going to start introducing books and they're not in the place that they were last time, and you start flubbing your whole pitch, and that makes things a little embarrassing. Like, oh no, wait, that's that book over there now, and now it's over here. So having my books in the same place every time really helps too. It's just, that's where they are. I know where they're at, unless I put one rack on one side of me, one on the other, and reverse them from event to event, then I confuse myself. So now with that book rack that I have, now that I have 2 of them, I currently have 17 published books out there. So I'm almost outgrowing these racks, and I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to have to shuffle things around in my racks to make them work to keep adding more books, which I can do. They're expandable, so that works great. So this table across from me had beautiful signage. That was great, but their tablecloth. Okay, so I just use a plain black tablecloth. I have a cloth banner that goes over it, just subtle designs on it, nothing super distracting, because I want the art. I want my books. I want those things to stand out, not the tablecloth. A very busy striped tablecloth underneath all of this busy art, because art is busy. It's got a lot of color in it and patterns and things. And so it was like a visual disaster going on over there. There was so much to look at. It's just like people were like, oh, I can't, there's too much going on there. It was uncomfortable. So just a plain tablecloth is great. They had their stuff laid out nicely. It was just that tablecloth underneath everything just made it visually very hard to look at. Everything was laid flat on the table. Nothing was standing up. Nothing was on display. So as you're coming down the aisle at any book event, you want to see something sitting up. You want something that's going to catch your eye. Some things are laying flat if they store better flat, or if it's windy, or there's a lot of traffic, things are going to get bumped into. But having some things vertical really helps people see what's there, whether they're going to stop or not at your booth. So you want the vertical things to be the eye-catching things, obviously, your artwork, if you have prints, if you have posters of your book covers, your displays of, reviews or promo material, or whatever, or just your books themselves in a nice tall rack, but also room that you can sit there and be seen is great too. And then, so I have some of those wire racks, the little things you can get, grids you can get on Amazon and stuff. And I have those kind of sometimes off to the side of my books where I have some prints and things related to my books that I sell. Because some of the books covers I have done the artwork for. So I sell prints of the artwork for the book covers too. So those are on there next to the books, but that way they're separate from the books too. So they can see they're two separate products, which is great, but also visually gets people's attention. Um, banners are great. So I have a banner on my table, which just kind of tells it's my name and my genres. That's it. Very simple, very easy, but it catches people's attention. But also, if a busy event, people can't see the table banner because there's people on the front of it. So I also have stand-up banners. I have one for my series that just focuses solely on the series. And then I have one for just me in general. And so focuses on all of my books, has just all of them in a giant stack because I can't just put them all up anymore because there's 17 of them and that's a lot to look at. But I have my tagline on there. So having a tagline helps people kind of know what you do and also gets their attention. So mine is sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and chickens. And chickens gets everyone to stop. They're like, what? What? How do chickens relate to sci-fi, fantasy, and horror? And they slow down and I get to talk to them and yay, they buy books. So the one little thing, the little word, so my series one has like the whole, intrigue, action, assassins, politics, little romance. It also says too much alcohol. And that also gets people to stop. Like, how is there too much alcohol? What's going on with that? Just a little thing to make them stop. Let's see here. Just skimming over my notes from my other stuff we've been going over. Um, a lot of the attendees are there for different reasons, and they're not all your customers, so you have to kind of know your demographic, obviously. So generally at a Comic-Con, I'm pretty good. About 80% of the people are probably my people. They're usually sci-fi, fantasy, horror related people. Sometimes they have kids that are chickens. Yay. But that's the sci-fi fantasy audience. So it's finding where your people are, obviously. And where do you find your people? So I always tell people to think about what you like to read and where would you go to find someone who wrote those things. And so my things are obviously at science fiction Comic-Con, pop cons, Renaissance festivals. Fantasy people are there like crazy. General art fairs. Art fairs are where the kids' books sell really, really well. People always will buy books for kids at art fairs, which is lovely. We love those people. But knowing where your people are to know where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, for your booth fee, for your time being there, your travel if you have to go far. You got to pay for your hotel. You may have to pay for your food. I am a cheap person, so I will bring my own food. I will often sleep in my car because I have room. I can do that because I like to keep my expenses low because I'm about making money and paying my bills. But sometimes I do have to get a hotel. And yeah, you have to decide whether this is just like when you're marketing online, is this going to be worth it for me to be there? And sometimes you have to take that gamble, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And then you don't go back next year if it's not. And if it is, you book that sucker right away and you go back. A lot of times I book my stuff a year out. And if I'm at an event, it does well. I'm like, can I book my table for next year right now? So I don't have to remember to find the application and do it again. Let's see, question here. Focus on a new book or somehow try to sell them all. I generally focus on everything because I don't know what people like to read. When they come up to my booth, a lot of my stuff is different. The only books that are the same are my series. So I have a space opera series. So there's 7 books. 7 of my 17 books are the same. Everything else is a little bit different. So it's like I always ask, what flavor of sci-fi do you like? What kind of fantasy do you like? Because I have a more of your usual what you'd call just fantasy, but it has some adult content in it. So I say I have fantasy with adult content. I have a funny fantasy. I have an all ages fairy tale. I have short stories that have this in it. I have horror short stories. I have sci-fi short stories. I have a dystopian novel. I have all these things. And I just do like a very quick genre list of what I have or ask them what they like and aim them toward that thing. Um, And unless someone asks me, a lot of people will, what's your favorite book? Or what do you think I would like? And gosh, I hate that question because I can't read your mind. I don't know. So you have to ask, a couple little identifying questions like, well, what do you like? And I can aim you toward a book that would maybe fit your needs for that. Which I assume probably is what most of your publishers would do. Like, do you like this thing? I have four of those things and these varying flavors of that thing. What is your thing you like? I don't necessarily aim people toward a new book unless that's what they're looking for. I may have like a sticker on top saying, new release, and then they might ask me about that being the new release. But typically, I don't know if that's something they're going to want to read or not. It may be new to me, but if it's not their thing, then they're not going to really care if it's a new book or not. So my newest one is an urban fantasy. It's not everybody's flavor. So typically I aim people toward the things I know most of my readers really like. And then I say, and then I also have all these things. And this is my newest book. It's this, but I don't necessarily lead with that unless it's something I'm super excited about and I really want to sell, that I'm sure has this huge following and everybody's going to love it. Let's see here. A lot of the people at events are just like, especially art fairs, are not necessarily my people, unless they're like the kids' books. So my people at art fairs are typically the husband that gets dragged along or the teenage kids. So you kind of got to pick your demographic and know who your audience typically is. I don't write romancy romance. So a lot of the women at the art festivals or at the craft shows and art fairs are not my people. So you have to know who you're pitching to and kind of devise your pitch toward those people. Also, is a great way to go about it. I usually pitch toward the dads different books than I do to teenagers, and different ones to women that I do to men or to teens. On a That's how many books would you sell on a good day? I love when I can go to an event and sell 90 books. That's lovely. I sold 60 last weekend, which is great. Typically, if I don't sell 30 books in an event, I don't ever go back, unless it's a super like $10 for a booth and it's close to home and it's, I know the people that are running it and I'm like, okay, it's 5 minutes out of my way and I can go sit there for an afternoon and chat with my friends. I have to sell at least 30 books to make it worth my while. But I try to sell, if in most of my events that I do now, I sell 60 to 90 books. I haven't quite cracked the 100 in an event. I've gotten close. I think 96 is my record on an event. Um, but yeah, I love when I can sell close to the 100. That makes me very happy. The quantity of books to bring, that's always a question. I try to bring 12 of everything of my general like chapter books. Uh, and then the children's books, I bring about 30, just because children's books tend to sell more at, especially the art festivals, the very few craft shows I still do. It depends on the event I'm going to. So if I'm going to go to a Renaissance festival, I know that's generally for fantasy heavy. So I will bring more, like maybe 25 of each of my fantasy books to those, as opposed to if I'm going to a Comic-Con, I may bring more of the science fiction books, but also I always just bring the bare minimum of 12 to 15 of all the books anyway. The signage on the blurbs, yes. Let's see. It is all on one sign. It is just a very, I'm trying to think if I have one in reach. I do not. It is a very small, just a little sticker about yay big. It is about 1.5 inches by 3 inches, and it just says the price in big numbers, because people are always looking for the price. That's the most important thing. Has the genre. So it may say, my sci-fi books would be $16. The genre, I don't put the title on there because the book is sitting there, but I will have the genre really big and the price really big. And then I will have the little words or tropes, keywords or tropes fairly small, because at that point, if they've gone through the price, they've gone through the genre, they've gone through the cover, they're going to lean closer. They're going to see the smaller print that says the little keywords. And then I have the blurb or the little, like I said, it's only a 1 or 2 sentence blurb at the bottom of that. Because I figure, oh, if you like that, flip it, pick up the book and read the back cover, because there's a lot more on there. And that gets the book in their hands. Or if I see them reading it, I may hand them the book and go, oh, you might want to read the back. That gives me something to interact with them with as well. And then let's see here. I have a sticker for every book except for the series. The series has a whole strip across the top of my rack. So it's about 1.5 inches by, I think it's 18 across the top of the book. across the top of the rack, it has the series name. It has the pricing off to the side. So it may have, so my series is $16 a book, but I have a bundle with the prequel and book one. So I have that is listed as a separate little price number. And then I have, if you buy the whole series, you get like a bulk price. So those three price numbers are written on that fairly large. So people see that the title is very large. And then it, it has a series name underneath of it. And then I have the keywords written fairly large on that as well. I don't have any blurb on that because that comes from me. Typically, if I see them looking at that, I will give them the blurb, or I'll just hand them a book and say, here's just back of book one. You might want to read that to see if they would like it. Everything else, all of my standalone books have the whole little sticker because it gives people a good thing to stop and read and look and see if that's their book or not. And it gives them something to quick scan, and then they can pick up the book they're actually interested in. A book event to a non-book event. I consider all of my books book events. Typically, I am in an author alley if I'm at an art festival or I don't do craft shows so much anymore. I do one or two less still, and I guess those would be my non-book events. At which point I just say, "Oh, are you a reader, or do you like books, or do you know someone who likes books?" I'll throw one of those lines out there if someone's walking by, and if the answer is yes, I'm like, "Oh, well, come look at the books that I have. You might like, or someone might like those." So it's just a matter of the pitch. So a non-book event, I would ask if they're readers. If it's a event where people are obviously there for a certain, like a sci-fi thing or a fantasy thing, I would just go, "Oh, do you like this kind of, do you like this kind of thing? Or do you like, I have this book, you might like it." I go a little more into the conversation of, "Oh, I see you like this. You may also like that. You may also like," works really well with a lot of people. Biggest misconception about selling in person. Um, I thought it was going to be really uncomfortable, and the more you do it, the better it gets. I don't mind doing it at all now, other than it gets long if you're doing 8-hour days. I really like the shorter day events, but it is what it is. You're there when people are there, and that's great. Um, my approach has changed over time. I used to just ask like a simple like, "Oh, do you like to read? And here's a book I have." But now that I have more books, it's easier to just I have more things to talk about than just like I only have one title. Because I have 17 titles. So I generally can kind of pick out looking at a person, and I might be way wrong, but typically I can kind of pick out like, "Oh, do you like this?" And then we can go, "Oh, you might like one of these things here," as opposed to just, "I only have this one book. I hope you like it." That's harder to sell. Let's see here. Yes, I have a clipboard on my table for newsletters. That's my biggest place I get people to sign up for newsletters. I do have a sign up on my website as well, but probably 99% of them come from in-person events. Again, it's from talking to people that they say, "Oh, I don't have any money today, but I really like to follow your books to get on your newsletter for when you have something coming out." And they sign up for the newsletter. I wish they would use my QR code and sign up themselves so I don't have to try to read their writing, but that's what it is. um, Newsletter signups are really helpful. And I always recommend authors have those because you're there. Please get people to sign up for your newsletters for those who are not going to buy something today or that may want to buy something in the future or find where you're out signing books next time or your new release or want to be an ARC reader or a beta reader or just like your books. That'd be great. Um, how do I find events to go to? So Facebook, there are groups for everything on Facebook. I was clueless. I'm like, where do you find events? First of all, talk to people. So if you are doing an event, I'm at a Comic-Con and I would say to my neighbors around me, go talk to the people around you. If you have a slow moment, if you are slow, like the last hour of an event, you go around and talk to people who are selling items similar to yours, not maybe books, but if it's a sci-fi thing, like I have science fiction books, I will look at people like you have science fiction related art or science fiction related product. Where do you also sell? What events are good for you? Oh, how does that one go? How much are the booths? Like, do they get a lot of traffic? Ask all of the questions. People are very happy to share, give you their experiences. I will tell you, I'm like, "Oh, don't go to this one because that one doesn't, they don't they don't advertise well, or there's not enough traffic at that one to make the booth price worthwhile, or the booth is cheap, but you might not sell a whole lot, but I think you might do well there compared to what I sell there." We're all happy to help each other. You just have to ask the questions. So always use your booth time very well. there's no slow moments at a con. You can always network with other people and make friends with your neighbors because you will see them at other events. And then you can go, oh, can you cover my booth for us for me a second? I have to go use the bathroom because I operate my booth solo. Because I like my booth solo because I have space in my booth for me and a chicken. So I often don't have room for a second person. So I like to have my booth neighbors be my friends, and maybe they're new friends. Maybe they're friends to me as of this morning, but we try to make friends with everybody, or the person across the aisle, or anyone you can get to be your buddy, because you will be at events with them again, guaranteed somewhere. So don't make enemies of your booth neighbors. Otherwise, Facebook has groups for everything. So you can go on Facebook and you can search Comic Cons in Michigan, and there will be a group for that, or 12 groups for that. There will be groups for Renaissance festivals in Michigan, in different states, in the Midwest. There are groups for everything. Groups for your beta readers, your ARC readers, for craft and vendor shows, for art festivals, everything. So there are groups. You just have to join them and then put up with, looking. You do your homework and go through and go, oh, well, this one doesn't look like it's for me, or this one's too far, or the booth price is too much. Always do your homework, know what's good for you, and try things. And if they don't work out, don't go back. It's pretty easy. You can always split a booth with somebody. Well, always, most of the time, places will allow you to split a booth with somebody. So if you are, say, they're selling your own books, if you are a publisher and you have another author that wants to go with you, split booth fees, half the price. Yay, half the investment. Way to go. When I only had one book, 3 books, I think about 5 books is when I stopped really sharing booths with people because I needed the space, because I wanted to be able to set out, banners and posters and have the display be my display and not be like, oh, and also I have this other person's books. So I don't necessarily, I have one person I still share, 1 or 2 people I still share a booth with every now and then. But for the most part, I have my own booth now because I need my 10 by 10 space for all of my stuff and a chicken cage and things like that. Minimum numbers you think you should have to be effective at in person. I started doing it with 1 book. I was out there selling my 1 book, and then I was out there selling my 3 books, and then I was out there selling my 5 books, and now I'm out there selling 17 books. It's just a matter of, I started with smaller events because you don't want to invest so much. You still want to make a profit. So I did a lot of art festivals or craft shows. Craft shows is where I start. Library events. Library events are often free. Craft shows, 20 bucks, 30 bucks a table, and share with another person. Then it's only 15 bucks. And if you only sell 3 books, you didn't lose money. I mean, you had your time being there, but please network with people while you're there. Make it worthwhile, even if you're not, even if you're not selling well, use your time wisely. Don't sit and read a book. Don't sit and just look sad. Don't look angry that you're not making sales. I mean, talk to everybody, find out what they're doing. I have often talked to other authors at events enough that they think I actually work for the thing and that I'm just asking how they're doing. And I'm like, no, I'm just another author. I have a table over here and I'm trying to help you and you're trying to help me. And we're all networking. We're all in this together and we're all trying to make this very profitable for everybody. I'd love to see a picture of your booth with your chicken issue in a case. So the chicken, I have several chickens that come to events with me. And typically the chickens I bring to the events are very well trained chickens and they will actually sit on my table or my lap. I do keep a cage with me. So when I'm doing an in-person or inside event, so like when I'm at Grand Rapids Comic Con this November, I will have I bring a little like pet carrier and the chicken will go in the pet carrier underneath my table for a while for some quiet time because it's a lot of noise for my chickens to be at. But they're used to it. Leia, my chicken that is in my most recent children's picture book, has been coming to events for 4 years with me. And she's super used to all the noise, everybody talking to her, everybody petting her. They don't really care anymore. They'll let me know when they're done. And then they get to go sit in the cage. If I'm at an outdoor event, I do have a wire cage that they can be seen still, but then they don't get petted anymore. I just say, you can look at the chicken and you can, maybe sometimes I'll give them some seeds to throw to the chicken, but they can't pet the chicken anymore. Chicken's done. Chicken has a smaller time patience than I do. So um, chicken usually sits on a towel on my lap on the table. And yeah, like I said, it's amazing how many people miss the live chicken on a table. So slow down when you're at an event. You never know when you're going to see a live chicken. It's great. Yeah, the people who want to chit chat at the table. That's always fun. It's great. There's always one that you just eventually just pick up your phone and go, oh, I have a call. I have to take this. Nice talking to you. Bye. And then you just duck under your table and take the call. Or you text someone and play, please call me. Because yeah, that happens. There's some uncomfortable people that just don't take the social cues of I don't want to miss sales. I'm like, if I'm not selling, I will sit and I will talk to you about, what you've written since third grade, the book that you always wanted to write, but you never got around to, but surely it would be a bestseller if you did. Um, all of those things that are completely unrelated to writing that I don't care about at all, but clearly you want to talk about. There's people that just want to talk. And if I'm not selling anything and it's slow at the end of the day and you want me to be your friend and maybe you'll follow me on social media because I was nice to you, I'll give you some time, but there's a limit. Uh, I'd rather be networking with people if it's clearly you're not into what I'm doing. You just are sitting here talking to me and taking up space. So sometimes you just have to come around and say, I'm sorry, I have to go take this call. I have to go do this thing. I need to use the bathroom. I need to be done with this conversation now. Yeah, you just look at a booth neighbor and go, we're happy to help each other. So definitely don't be afraid to ask. Usually I can see if someone's like just lingering at a table forever, and I will try to make eye contact with the vendor at the table, like, do you need help? And they nod, we come over and go, oh, I saw you need, could I help you with this thing? And then we turn around and have a conversation and we wait for the person to leave because they've been there for half an hour and aren't buying anything clearly and just don't know when to leave. Insurance, yes. So I have business insurance because my business is my publisher. So I do have business insurance that I take with me everywhere. Typically, a lot of events will just have you sign a waiver and just say, they're not responsible for anything. And if your tent blows over and into someone's car, that's your problem. And they're not responsible. That's you. And so hopefully you have your own insurance and it's not their problem. So a lot of events will ask for business insurance now, especially if it's an outdoor event because wind and tents go flying and things get ruined and they don't want to be responsible for it, especially if it is a city held event or a county held event. If government is involved at any level, they want you to have insurance because they're not responsible. You can get on your homeowner's insurance a little rider for it. You can get just business insurance for you. Mine is just there, and there's occasionally businesses that will, especially like the city events, that will want to have a rider on your insurance, and I think it's $55 for me to add them, and then they're there. So hopefully that's in a good event and I get to go back and just keep them on my as a rider, and then I'm good, which is the case for me. I have one business that I keep, or one city that I do keep on my insurance, and then I just go back there every year. It was kind of a gamble that first year. I'm like, it's $55 to add you, and I don't know if this event's going to suck or not, but I'll try it. And it worked out. So yes, it is good to have insurance, especially for outdoor events. Indoor, I haven't had a lot of indoor events ask for insurance, just the outdoor ones for the most part. All right. So sitting at your table, should you sit or should you stand? That is the question. I have found standing tends to make me feel, because I am tall already, feel kind of menacing and like you're looming over customers. And it just feels intimidating for them to approach your table if you are like already standing and are generally taller than they are, especially if I'm wearing heels and I'm standing. So I have a director's chair. So I am sitting, but I am generally at eye level with most people. And that kind of tends to, I don't know, that is where I found my happy medium, where I'm accessible, I'm not intimidating, I'm just sitting here doing my thing, saying hi, and I'm not standing here like ready to loom at you, like, oh, would you like to buy a book? I'm going to jump over the table at you. If you're sitting in a low chair, like the folding chairs most events will give you, then the customer's looming over you, and it just felt really uncomfortable for me, and it felt like it was harder for me to sell. I wasn't able to be at eye level with them, and I just felt like I couldn't interact with them as comfortably as I would. And those chairs are just uncomfortable. So I just got my own chair, and I just bring my own chair with me now because I like that better. It's more comfortable for me and for the customer, I found. Let's see here. A lot of people just don't look like they're having a good time when you're sitting at your table, especially if you've been there all day and maybe it's a little slow. that is one of the biggest detractor I have found where customers don't stop because people look like they're just not having a good time. They're grumpy, they're tired, they're just sitting there like this. I'm like, how do you want to go talk to that person? They look like they're angry. They don't want to sell to you. So look like you're having a good time. Having a table buddy is handy, especially if you're at a very busy event. I do have somebody help me every now and then, especially at some of the bigger Comic Cons, that they can help bag things for me. I try to handle my own sales, but to be able to bag things for me, or if I do need to run to the bathroom, or if I'm at a panel for an hour, my table isn't down. I need someone to like give the chicken spiel while I'm also selling books. That's always nice to have someone that knows your stuff to be able to help you out when it is busy and when you do need that second hand. Let's see here. Do a lot of book tucks like at libraries. I've done some libraries. I've not had great luck with actually selling books. They're typically free. They're generally very happy to have you. Sometimes you can, get them to have your book in the library, yay. But do I sell a lot of books there? No. I wish I did. That'd be nice because they're usually free and they're usually happy to have you and sometimes even pay you if you put a presentation on. But I haven't found it being very profitable for me, which is I'm kind of in the business to pay my bills. So I kind of have to pick and choose what I do with my time these days. I did do several library events early on, and a lot of it was networking for me. So I would, obviously try to leave my book at the library. If I had a book or two, I could like leave with them and put on a local author shelf or a Michigan author shelf, which is great. Just helps with reviews, things like that, because their books are accessible. But I haven't seen a lot of sales from it. A lot of people don't come into a library where you can check out a book for free to also buy books. That is what I have found in my experience. Um, let's see. Yes, the sitting with your arms crossed, looking like this because you're tired and you'd rather be home writing does not sell books. You need to be, even if you're not smiling, be friendly. Say hi. If they respond to the hi, say, oh, do you read this? Oh, do you like that? I see you like this. Do you also like these things? And work on where can you pitch? Don't do the long pitch until like they're really actually interested because that will scare them away. Um, just ease into things a little bit without being obnoxiously selly. People don't like hard sale. That chases people away just as much as the grumpy face. So I always look friendly and approachable, even if you've been smiling for 8 hours and it's really hard. Have an energy drink. Be happy. Yes, yes, the historical romance lady. Yes, there's always the one that's just gonna chase everyone away because they are really gonna sell their thing, and that's obnoxious. Don't be that person. Please don't be that person. You will not be anyone's friend if you are hard selling your product or just being obnoxious and chasing people away from all the tables around you. You will have 9 tables around you that hate you, and they'll remember you at all the future events, and they will tell you about it. Uh, Anybody else have any questions?
You're really funny. This has been really entertaining so far. Um,
Oh, yay.
from Jason's comment though about the historical romance, like he made it sound like a good thing, like how that woman was screaming that. Is that wasn't the case? No, okay.
No, no. So we're all a lot of times when we're in an author alley or we're at a book event. So you are there amongst 20, 30, 40 other authors also selling their books. Okay. So you don't want to be the obnoxious person. You want everybody to come down the aisle, the customers come down the aisle, and you go like, oh, I write sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Is that your thing? And they're like, oh no, I like this. I'm like, oh, well, the author over there that I know, they write that. You should go check that out. You want to help each other. Instead, you have the lady in the aisle that's going, I sell historical romance. Everyone, historical romance over here, over here, over here. No.
I had a, I
Enjoy
had
the
a,
book, try to sell and
I had a partner once who uh, would stood out in the middle of the aisle where people were walking and said, "Stop! You need to go over here, and this is a great book. You really need to take a look at it." And that was the highest sales I ever had. It was something I would never have done, but it was like, what is he doing? And it worked.
It does work, but most events will tell you you need to stay behind your table because it takes away sales from other people.
Yeah.
And it stops the flow of traffic down the aisle. So they will get mad at you most of the time. So I get around that by sitting at the edge of my table. So you have your booth line. I sit here next to my table. So I am out front, but I'm not outside my booth. That way I can physically, if I have room, I will sit there and I have the chicken on my lap. I will hand you a bookmark as, oh, would you like a free bookmark? Hand them something. It's a bookmark. It's a free short story on a little, postcard. It's a, would you like Pet My Checker? Would you like a free sticker? Would you like, something to get them to stop, to have something in their hand. So your hand and their hand are on the same thing. And while I have you, let me tell you about my books. But then you're not in the aisle. You're not standing out there. I mean, I've had some authors that are doing great things. They wear a t-shirt that has their book cover on it, or it says, author or whatever. And that makes people, that's a good connection with people too. Because a lot of people don't realize, I don't know how, but I'm sitting here with all my books, with a picture of me on the banner right behind me. And I'm telling you about the books. And they'll go, oh yeah, I don't know that author. You seem to know these books really well. And I'm like, that's me right there on the, I'm the author. Oh, I'm like, how did you think this works? Happens a lot. Your cat looks very comfy, Jason.
She's having a good day.
Yes, that's, all days are good days for cats. It's a rough life. Yeah, so don't be high pressure when you're selling. I think that is the biggest no I would tell people. It's obnoxious. I've been in a row where we have 20 authors in a row in an author alley at like a women's expo. And the three people in the middle of this row of 20 authors are not, I won't say they're high pressure selling, but they are very, very talkative, and they will talk to everyone, and they will do their long pitch to everyone that goes by, and really like, you really would love this book. I know you would. If you like this, you're going to love it. And people are so, either they buy the book, yay, or they're so turned off by the in your face sale that they just leave and they don't get to the other 10 authors after that. And that doesn't make friends of your other 10 authors. And then it doesn't get you sales either because they didn't buy your book. So if you could just bring it down a notch, it'd be great for everybody.
I think I did better when I had my grandsons there, because then
Something
they were like,
cute.
kind of like a chicken, there was some,
Yes.
you talk to kids. They
Yep.
were,
Grandson, dogs, bring your cat. Yeah. Anything to get people to stop, something just you have in common, even if not a book thing necessarily. So it's the little cute little alien on your table. It's a stuffed dragon. Like, oh, you get that. So, and then you can segue to the books and the sales pitch. Because obviously if they're into books, they're going to look at the books first. But sometimes you need that little thing to transition to the sales pitch.
We did that with Brittany's baby once.
Yes, the baby worked well too. Yeah, got a baby? Bring the baby. Mm-hmm.
Jennifer asked the question if you were ever denied entry for your chicken.
Oh yeah, so I had I always ask because you don't want to show up with something and then they're like, yeah, you can't have that here. And then you're stuck with, especially if you traveled. They're like, well, it's here now. It'll just stay in the cage the whole time, I guess, and that's uncomfortable. So I always ask if I can bring the thing, and I explain why. Because so chicken for me helps the event because it gets people to, you're coming and you're going to see this fun thing that you can bring your kids to look at. Oh, you've always wanted to, have no idea how many people have like that's on their bucket list to pet a chicken. This is on my bucket list. I've always wanted to pet a chicken. I'm like, I'm happy I can make your day. I do this every day, but if it's your thing, cool. Makes people's day. They take pictures with the chicken. They want to pet the chicken. I finally put out a tip jar for the chicken because people have asked me, can I leave a tip for the chicken? I'm like, I'm not going to say no.
it was selfie.
And now the chicken is a tip jar, and the chicken makes good money in the tip jar. So it's great. It helps pay for chicken.
People ever asked to buy the chicken from you?
Yeah, and the chicken's not for sale, man. That's
Oh my
my
God.
favorite chicken. No, no, no. Leia's my favorite chicken. Now Ziggy is my next one that I've trained to come at events, and he's also my second favorite chicken. So no, their chickens are not for sale. Um, yeah, all my there. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see all my chicken pictures. Also on Facebook. So I just did an event at Windmill Island, in here in Holland this past weekend, and the chicken went on a whole adventure at Windmill Island. We took pictures of the chicken all over on the island, doing all the fun things that are there. I bring the chicken with me to do all the fun things and take the pictures and put them on my Facebook and my Instagram, because it's a break from doing like, here's my cover of my science fiction book, you should buy that, and here's this book, you should buy that. All the marketing things breaks it up a little thing. Yeah. Yes,
Do
my
you have a
Facebook.
do you have a picture you could share easily of the rack that you designed, or can you tell me what the URL is for where we can see
They're on my
that?
website. So I actually just did a blog post that they are on there. So jeandavisauthor.com. There is a
Okay.
link to it on there. I will find a picture of it here on my
There,
my
Jean,
secondary device here. A
hopefully I
second.
got that right. I'm curious
Yep,
about
my blog
that.
spot. Yep, my blog. Yep, that works. It'll get you to the same place. Let me find my see if we can find my book rack very easily here. So this is, let's see if I can get it up here. This is a picture of the book rack with somebody else's books on it right now. This is because one I sold to somebody, but it holds 9 books very easily. You see, it does not hide most of the covers. It has a spot for a header here at the top of it. It is metal. It is durable. I have used mine for over a year now. It's come to all my events with me, traveled with me everywhere. It breaks down super quick and easy, goes together super quick and easy. It weighs, I think, 5 pounds altogether because it is metal. It's a little heavier duty, doesn't fall over in the wind. It has a spot behind it that is open. It's all open in the back, so I can keep my bags back there, my cash box back there, my water, my food, all the things you don't want sitting out on your table stay back there, my chicken treats. All that is out of the view of the things you want on display. So it works really, really well. See if I have one of Capital City Comic Con where I had the chicken on the table. Oh, that would be in let's see here. That's in, I think, downloads. Is that that's it? Trying to find a quick and easy one. When I want to find one, it's not always easy. So this is, let me get here. Here's me with my chicken on my lap, sitting next to my book rack there. So
Wait, let me spotlight you here. That even
so there's little chicken sitting on my lap. So
she doesn't jump off. She just stays
no,
there.
she actually wears a leash and a harness, so sometimes she will want to jump off, and I let her walk around a little bit. But no, she's pretty good about sitting on my lap.
Look, my son just came over to see.
I'll get another one here just a second. I was going to show you, see if I can find the one where I have. Of course, I got to find the right thing here a second. Here. So this is at. Here we go. Comic-Con. Chicken sitting on the table. Yep. So we bring the chickens all with me everywhere. And yeah, people just love it's a nice break from, like, especially when you're at a busy event, to be able to just go pet something soft and fluffy and have like a little social timeout and then go back to the event. So it gives people a nice little break too. I actually hand out little chicken achievement stickers now because some people had it on the bucket list. So if they're like, oh, I get to pet, I love petting chicken. And I've had people cry because they got to pet the chicken. So I have a little achievement sticker I give them now that says, achievement unlocked. I've pet a chicken today, and it has a picture of the 3 chickens I normally bring to events. And people, I'm gonna go put this on my memory banner at home. I'm gonna put this in my journal. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad I made your day. This is great. Has my website on it in case you want to go follow that later. But yeah, so it just makes people happy, and it gives people something to, a memorable thing that they remember me by. As I can walk into most any event now all through Michigan and Indiana, and they're like, chicken's here. Okay. Also write sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, but I'll take chicken lady.
Jean, somebody asked you about your preference, Square or Cash or Venmo. Do you have a
I do
preference?
all of those things. I take Cash App, I take PayPal, I take all the credit cards. I take cash. I will take pretty much, you know, I don't want your children, but I will take lots of other things in payment. Yeah. I've traded books with people. I've given, sometimes you get the young people come over and they want something and their parent will give them a book. And, you know, if I keep my misprints because occasionally, you know, the Ingram or Amazon will print something a little wonky, missing the first few pages or whatever. And I always keep those so that if someone comes over and they're like, they're really interested, and you know, a lot of times it's my parent won't give me money for a book, and I'm like, you know, just take this one, take a book, you know, read a book, leave a review, do something. So try to help people out, and you know, it makes a nice impression on them, and hopefully they'll come back and buy books next time if they like that one. Yes, indeed. Yeah, the displays to go are also they have some good ones as well. I haven't not used theirs, but I have looked into them, and that's when I just went, you know, I'm just gonna design my own. We have a CNC machine here. I own a sign shop, so it works out. I have a little inside there. Works out really well to make my own racks. But yeah, there are a lot of good racks out there. I just don't like those typical wire ones you can buy on Amazon because you don't get enough cover space showing unless you only have a few books. Let's see, did I miss any other questions in there? Ah, you got the Etsy book rack on there. Good job. Yes, yes, I do sell them on my Etsy store as well. And yeah, they do come with that header sticker does come on there. I can do sides on them as well. So mine have side stickers on them. So I have like some of my most popular book covers. I put that on the sides, and like I put the genre on there as well. So if people are coming down the aisle and they see the side of the book rack before they even see books, they know what I'm selling. That works out really well.